Imagine luxuriating in a spa with stolen money. What a lavish life that would be.
Amanda's words were full of sarcasm. Since childhood, she had looked down on me, the only child of a single parent, and finally accused me of stealing. I had never wanted to encounter her in such a place. I intended to thoroughly enjoy the trip with my mother. But because of her, everything felt ruined, and I was plunged into darkness. At that moment, in an unexpected turn of events, my mother dealt her a blow. My name is Emily. I recently turned 35 and have become fond of visiting burger shops by myself. In my younger years, I was embarrassed and hesitant to eat alone at a restaurant, but as I've gotten older, I don't care about it anymore. As a result, I seem to have gained some weight. This is a story from my 20s, a fresh-faced newcomer in the workplace, where I encountered a somewhat difficult colleague. Her name was Amanda, a friend from middle school. Our relationship has a bit of a complicated history. I was raised by a single parent after my father left us for another woman in my early childhood. Fortunately, thanks to my mother's employment, we avoided the poverty that often befalls single-parent families. Although we were not wealthy, we maintained a standard of living similar to that of an average white-collar family. Also, with the existence of government support systems for single-parent families, we managed a standard life without luxuries. My mother came home at 6 p.m. so we could have dinner together, which made our family not so unusual except for the absence of a father. Yet, this fact didn't particularly bother me. Nevertheless, many people looked at me with pity, and Amanda was particularly prominent among them. During my elementary school years, at events like the sports festival, which most families attended with both parents, my mother was the only one present for me. This revealed my single-parent status to Amanda, who has looked down on me ever since. For example, she would pretend to invite me to play, only to say,
But Emily, you don't get much allowance without a dad, do you? Maybe it's better if you don't come.
I was often rejected this way. It was never a real invitation, just a way of putting me down. Also, on school trips, she would bring leftovers from her lunch and say,
You must be hungry, right? Since you don't usually get to eat much, I'll give you this.
In middle school, she spreaded an unfounded rumor.
Emily is dating a man in his 50s to forget the fact that she doesn't have a father.
As a result, I was kept at a distance by the female students and received curious looks from the male students. One day, after finding a love letter in my locker and going to the promised place, a male student said to me, "You must like me, right? If you're in financial trouble, I can help you a little." And was embraced by him, who had a large build and an acne-ridden face. Apparently, Amanda had told him that I had a crush on him. This misunderstanding prompted him to send the love letter. He misunderstood my feelings and followed me around uncomfortably for a while. In fact, some teachers even misunderstood that I was toying with him. Moreover, among the male students in my class, I heard demeaning comments like, "If she's interested in that ugly guy, she'll date anyone else." Once a strange rumor starts, it's truly troublesome how people's perceptions change. Because of Amanda's actions, I had to endure a lot of pain. Fortunately, I was able to distance myself from Amanda after entering high school, and lived a peaceful student life in an environment where single-parent families were not uncommon. However, an unexpected reunion with her brought a bit of tension to my heart. Amanda was an adult now, and at least on the surface, she seemed mature, so I hoped she wouldn't engage in childish harassment anymore. Yet, her persistence exceeded my expectations. One day, when I returned to the office after lunch, the department seemed unusually noisy. When I asked what was going on, I learned that Amanda's necklace was missing. Thinking it was no big deal, I went to my desk and my boss quietly approached me and asked if he could open my desk drawer. Amanda stood there with an annoyed look on her face as if she wanted to say something. According to my boss, everyone's desk was being searched and the necklace hadn't been found yet. Thinking perhaps Amanda misplaced it somewhere, I complied with the request and opened my drawer, only to hear Amanda exclaim,
"Wait, that's my necklace."
At the top of the drawer was a necklace with diamonds on a shiny gold chain. I had no recollection of it and couldn't understand why it was there. Amidst the confusion, Amanda turned to me and hurled accusations.
"You hid here. You stole it,"
she said in an angry voice. Feeling like I'd been caught in someone else's plot, I was taken to the conference room for an explanation. I was questioned in detail about the theft, where I had been during my lunch break, and demanded a thorough explanation. Of course, I hadn't stolen the necklace. I had been out for lunch and had no idea when Amanda's necklace had disappeared. However, I had a solid alibi since I had been working with a senior colleague just before it went missing. I just wondered why Amanda had taken off the necklace in the first place. The situation seemed suspicious, but I decided not to tell my boss. If I criticized Amanda's actions now, it might look like I was blaming someone else to protect myself. Especially since my colleagues were unaware of the previous conflicts between Amanda and me. So I decided to keep quiet and assert my innocence. Fortunately, my boss believed me and I was cleared on the spot. But that didn't solve everything. A few months later, I found myself in a similar situation again.
"My wallet is missing,"
Amanda announced. My colleagues looked at me suspiciously and complained as if to say, "This has been happening ever since the new hire came in." Previously, the incident with the necklace appearing in my drawer had put me in a position of suspicion despite my innocence. Astonishingly, a similar event occurred when Amanda's wallet was found in my drawer again. During the meeting in the conference room, I was forced, albeit reluctantly, to talk to my boss about the long-standing conflicts with Amanda. However, it was unclear how much of my story was understood. The atmosphere was tense as if they suspected I was saying anything to justify my position. My boss didn't accuse me outright and tried to listen fairly, which was the only comfort. But almost all the other employees had already labeled me a thief. Only one senior who had helped me a few times seemed to try to believe me, but he was in the minority. Unfortunately, even he began to distance himself from me outside of work. Rumors had spread that getting close to me would result in being robbed, which was probably the reason for his distance. 6 months after joining the company, my once promising career had changed drastically. My days were now filled with annoying harassment at work. Being called a thief as I passed by, and hearing whispers wishing for my quick resignation became my new normal. One of my colleagues even blamed me, saying, because of her, this year's new hires have a bad reputation. Meanwhile, after a certain incident, Amanda was treated as a pathetic newcomer and soon found herself at the center of the group. Seeing the bad press I was getting, Amanda exaggerated.
"She grew up in a single-parent household. She's had a tough life since she was young, so don't say such terrible things. She's struggling financially."
While she was pretending to defend me, she was actually tarnishing my reputation. People who had no prejudice against single parents began to add the label of a thief, saying, "This is what happens when there's no proper upbringing." A colleague from a single-parent family said, "People like her are the reason why children from single-parent families have a bad reputation, and it's only a few that are so bad." Although I managed to do well at work, the situation around me was terrible. Enduring the cold stares at work, I was finally able to use my hard-earned bonus to gift my mother a spa trip. The reason I endured without quitting was for this day. I had resolved to express my gratitude to my mother once the bonus was paid. Our family wasn't extremely poor, but my mother was always working. Even when she caught a cold, she couldn't afford to take time off from work. To avoid wasting paid leave, my mother always saved it diligently. Although we could visit my maternal grandparents, we had never taken a trip together. That's why I planned a trip to another place, hoping to make my mother happy.
Really? I'm so happy.
My mother said, her eyes sparkling with joy. I prepared diligently to make the day of the trip wonderful. However, an unexpected event awaited us at the destination. The day of departure finally arrived, and we set off on our trip. Unexpectedly, I ran into Amanda in the hallway of the hotel. Our eyes met and I felt my face freeze. My mother looked puzzled, wondering what was happening, as Amanda smirked and said,
"Oh, Emily, what brings you here? On a trip?"
I wanted to ignore her, but Amanda was with my colleagues. Coming to this popular hotel with my long vacation turned out to be an unexpected miscalculation. I never thought I'd run into her here. Yes. I replied briefly, intending to leave the scene as soon as Amanda spoke.
"Oh, a spa trip with stolen money? Nice. Even a thief from a single-parent household can escape punishment and go on a trip. America's such a free country, isn't it?"
She laughed mockingly. I felt anger boiling inside me, making my body shake. I had always kept quiet about Amanda's harassment so as not to worry my mother and told her that work was going well. This situation ruined our trip. At that moment, my mother spoke up unexpectedly.
"Emily, a thief? That's impossible. And you, accusing someone of being a thief, what about you taking pictures of that man without his permission?"
She pointed at a man relaxing in the lobby, who then looked over in surprise.
"What are you talking about?"
Amanda said in panic.
"Yes, he is handsome. I understand the urge to make him your screensaver, but it's wrong to take pictures without permission,"
she said with a smile. My colleagues, who were with her, added,
"Now that you mention it, Amanda did say he was handsome at check-in,"
lending credibility to my mother's words. As Amanda's face began to pale, my colleagues looked at her with confusion and discomfort and said,
"That might be going a little too far. I didn't mean it like that. I don't care about that man."
She was upset.
"Taking pictures without permission is rude. Show me your phone."
The handsome man approached her and demanded that she show him her phone.
"Wait, I didn't do anything wrong,"
she argued.
If you've done nothing wrong, there should be no problem showing the contents of your phone. Show it now.
He insisted. The man's friend also chimed in and insisted that she show him the pictures. And even my colleagues said,
"If you didn't do anything wrong, prove it."
Amanda, clearly reluctant to show her phone, was pressured by those around her and reluctantly handed it to the man.
"This phone is just like mine,"
he said, starting to check Amanda's phone. Her photo album contained secretly taken photos of him. However, the photos were blurry, and his chubby friend next to him was clearly captured instead. My colleagues were shocked and said,
"That's an odd preference,"
and looked at Amanda. The handsome man, thinking he had been photographed, felt embarrassed and then angry.
"Hey, you took his picture without permission? Unforgivable, I'm going to the police."
He was furious. His reaction caused my colleagues to also criticize Amanda, saying,
"You ruined our trip."
My mother said,
"If my daughter really stole something, I'd like to apologize to the victim. Can someone tell me who it is?"
When my colleagues heard this, one of them said,
"Everything Amanda said was a lie." She's always picking on Emily and clearly doesn't like her.
The recent incident of secret photography exposed Amanda's lies and hostility toward me and changed the way others viewed her. Amanda said nothing, just kept quiet. With my mother witnessing Amanda's harassment, there was no longer any need to hide it. I was more concerned that my mother would continue to suspect me of being a thief. So, I decided to tell my colleagues the truth. Actually, I was raised by a single parent. I've been taunted and bullied by Amanda since we were young. My colleagues expressed surprise and asked,
"What do you mean?"
I briefly explained the harassment by Amanda and the recent false accusation. They concluded and criticized her.
"So it was Amanda who orchestrated this? Unbelievable." Indeed, it was strange. Every time Emily was out for lunch, how could things go missing when Amanda was eating inside? "Sorry for misunderstanding you." "I'm sorry. Please don't say any more."
She pleaded with me. "I don't like spreading rumors about people like you, so don't worry." I responded to her. However, it seemed that Amanda was not aware of this, but whether or not the other colleagues would keep quiet about it was another matter. By the way, I would never take my mother on a trip with stolen money, nor would I bully someone I dislike as you do. Do you understand that?
"I know."
With tears in her eyes.
"No matter how much I irritated you, you mostly ignored it. That frustrated me."
"I don't care what you think. Ignoring it was the best I could do, and I think it's a waste of time for you to get upset about it."
"I guess I'm a little jealous because I don't get noticed unless I stand out."
If that's what you think, why don't you work on improving yourself to get noticed? Seeking attention by putting others down is the lowest and most short-sighted approach.
"You may be right."
She responded with a self-deprecating laugh. As our conversation ended, the man next to us began to raise his voice.
You haven't forgotten about us, have you?
They expressed their dissatisfaction, their anger at being ignored growing. Under these circumstances, Amanda was reluctantly taken by the men to a nearby police station. No one from her cohort accompanied her, highlighting the shallowness of her relationships at that moment. Fortunately, the matter was resolved through discussion, and she apologized to the men. They were the assertive type, which made it a scary experience for Amanda, but that put an end to the matter. However, the incident quickly became the talk of the company.
The long weekend was just awful.
They shared their trip memories at work. At the center of these stories, of course, was Amanda's secret photography incident. The stories of harassment I had suffered at the hands of Amanda in the past began to spread, restoring my reputation while severely damaging hers. Male colleagues said, "Watch out, you're good looking, so she might take a picture of you," and jokingly laughed at Amanda's behavior. Amanda, who had implicated a colleague as the culprit, was viewed worse than when I was falsely accused of being a thief. Supervisors, seniors, and even colleagues viewed her as troublesome and avoided her. The seniors who were supposed to be teaching her showed little enthusiasm, resulting in her inability to get results or cooperate at work. As a result, Amanda quit in her third year. Her resignation, after 3 years of service, was marked by a quiet departure without a farewell party or even a present. This lonely exit was a direct consequence of her actions. Meanwhile, my mother and I got over the incident and enjoyed our trip. We continued to visit different places with each bonus payment. Since I got married and had a child 2 years ago, our opportunities to travel have diminished, but I plan to travel again with my family and my mother once parenting settles down.
"Being with my grandchild is heaven on earth,"
she often says. Considering my mother's age, such statements hit home and made me want to plan as many trips as possible soon. Hawaii, which my mother expressed a desire to visit, might be a good choice for our next destination. Traveling with a child may be challenging, but with my husband's knack for childcare, we should be able to make it work. Moving forward, I intend to enjoy activities with my family and my mother that I couldn't do as a child. On a lazy Sunday afternoon, flipping through travel brochures, I eagerly look forward to the fun times ahead.